Yo, 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 what is going on? Today is July 7th, Scott Fishbowl 15 day. Me and my man Nicholas Wilcox here to bring y'all the business today with another round of versus, aka Fantasy Face Off. Nick, how's it going for you, my brother, on this Monday afternoon or Monday evening now, bro?
Well, yeah, Monday evening, right?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, man, just ticking down to the time where a few weeks from now, we'll be doing our own Scott Fishbowl draft out in Boston. So if anyone's in the Boston area and you want to get an autograph before we shoot to the moon, let us know. But yeah, just another day to be grateful for and another day to talk football and hanging out with my guy here. So
let's go. Let's get it, man. Let's get
into it.
Yeah. Chat's already kind of buzzing. All right, man. Frank in the chat. What up, man? What up, Frank?
In the chat for real, Frank in the chat.
What up? I know. The homie Tip, man. Yo, thanks for pulling up today, man. Thanks for pulling up, bro.
That's family right there.
Yeah, man. Good luck, bro. Good luck. And Frank, yeah, man. We already mentioned it. We're one of the last ones to go, man. I think we might be the actual last group.
Really?
Go, man. Yeah, I think so. I think we're the last group to go, and got a lot of people, man, already starting their slow drafts. Some of my friends are already starting already, man. Yeah, I'm already getting the itch, man. But yeah, happy Scott Fishbowl 15 day, man, to everybody, bro. Happy Scott Fishbowl 15 day to everyone. So, man, we'll go ahead and get things rolling, man. Today, man, we got the fantasy face-offs we did last week. We did like a versus version of this right here, so we're kind of changing it up a little bit, putting a different spin on it. Fantasy face-offs is what you get today. But before we get into fantasy face-offs, man, I'm gonna pass it over to my man Nick for Nick's news in the fantasy / football world. Nick, so go ahead and drop it to us, man.
All right. Well, I didn't know we were naming this an official section of me now. All right, I'll take it. That being said, yeah, so just some news and notes for you guys, just to keep up with the tabloids and keep up with things around the fantasy circles. As we all know, following up with this Miami trade, we got the Miami Herald reporting that Darren Waller and Mike McDaniel basically saying that Waller is going to be getting up to speed, according to Mike Daniel, in terms of what the Miami Herald is basically saying. In terms of that, I mean, analysis for me really is that it's Darren Waller, people. Like, let's unless you're really in the deepest of leagues, or even a Scott Fishbowl, like second to last pick or whatever, or something like that, you want to take a flyer on that, that's fine. I am not touching Darren Waller in any of my season-long leagues that are for big-time money, any FPC drafts or any tight end premiums or nothing like that. Could I be wrong about that? Sure. However, Waller didn't play last year, right? Now he's coming to a whole new, totally different system, right? And I get it. People are going to be like, oh, well, Jonnu Smith did his thing or whatever. Like, yeah, it's Jonnu Smith. He's like 3 or 4 years younger than Waller. So we're going with the basement bargain discount. Darren Waller now, like, everybody just wants this to be a thing, and I'm telling you right now, just don't. Unless, like I said, you're in a deep league, you're a 16-team league, and you need a backup tight end or whatever, something like that. Those situations. So that's why I'd be very weary of, if anything else. Anything else to add?
Other than the fact that he burned me in Scott Fishbowl 13, which I take this as a sign that says do not touch Darren Waller under any circumstances. So I am leaving him all the way alone. So yes, y'all can have Darren Waller out there in them streets, man. Because guess what? He belongs to the streets at this point, baby.
Out of Panthers reporting, Panthers Wire, reporting that Bryce Young just basically getting right with his pass catcher and stuff like that. Yeah. So the receiver room goes as follows. Obviously, Ted McMillan, Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen, David Moore, Jalen Coker. You know what I'm saying? And Jimmy Horn Jr., who, again, someone that's like, I like the tape on him, but it's like something that's very, very deep. That's more like dynasty type of stuff to keep paying attention on, because that's already a decent receiver room as is. And then going to Giants camp, Theo Johnson, told the Giants.com that he is fully healthy, undergoing his foot surgery after that happened last season. Theo Johnson, obviously, he his rookie year got short because of that injury. He had 331 yards on the year with a touchdown as a rookie. Obviously, tight end 2 territory, nothing to get crazy about. But if the Giants have any type of pulse on the offense this year, like Theo Johnson, I expect to be like a little bit one of those one of those guys that if you get in a best ball draft, it's like your tight end 3 or something like that. Makes sense. Take a flyer on that. And then, just that was pretty much it. I mean, the only other thing was that, there's no update on McLaurin contract news, starting to get a little bit more unsettling, according to Pro Football Talk. So it's just, about that extension. So we'll have to see about that. I mean, look, I think it's going to get done. But, man, anytime you start hearing a receiver, like he may have a holdout, I don't care who it is. It's someone I need to take a ding on when it comes to some of my drafts, especially when it gets later and later and later. We've seen this last year with Ayuk and stuff like that. The man finally got paid, but guess what? 6 weeks later, he got hurt and he was done for the year. So it's I'm not going to say that's going to happen. It's just more about you got to be careful about when, especially if you're spending decent draft capital like you are with McLaurin. Like, I'm not saying I won't take McLaurin at a 3-4 turn or nothing like that where he's going. However, just be cautious. If people want to take him in some other rooms a little bit ahead of that, be my guest. But the longer that thing goes on, the more we got to be more careful. So that's the news.
Yeah, dig that. All right, man. Well, other than Terry McLaurin still not getting a contract, James Cook as well. Maybe was hoping to hear a little something about him. Everybody knows I'm a big Ray Davis truther, but contract situations at this point in time, we'll wait. We'll be patient. So speaking of being patient, we'll go ahead and get right into our first versus, aka fantasy face-off. We got Chase Brown versus Bucky Irvin. We got 2 running backs here. Obviously, Chase Brown in his second year last year tore it up, scorched it last year. Bucky Irvin, big time sleeper last year, came through in the clutch for a lot of fantasy managers, specifically in the second half of the year. Reason why, man, I was like, hey, let's talk about these 2 guys that are really around like that, second round turn, right around the second round for both of these guys here. I think, Bucky Irvin's at ADP is 2.5, Chase Brown's at 3.4. So Chase Brown versus Bucky Irvin, who you got and why you got him, man?
Man, I'll tell you what, I like both of these guys, and some of my best balls, I have both of them after I get a receiver at the 2-3 turn, especially if I'm taking earlier in the first round. I'm able to take it's either receiver or Bijan, and then I'm able to grab, if not both of these guys, at least one of them for sure. Sometimes fall to 2-3 turn. That's starting to change when it comes to best ball. I think when it comes to season-long formats, that might be somewhat the same case. We're talking about guys that's both these guys finished as RB, top high-end RB1s. Pertaining to the second half of the year, obviously. Overall, Bucky Irving was a RB15 on the year, and Chase Brown had finished as RB10. So, both of these guys I love to take, but if I have to pick one, we're being picky, but I'm gonna go with Bucky. Just simply put, Bucky Irving, I feel, has more of a chance for opportunities for growth to have that true, sensational RB3 higher-ish year for where he's going. Statistically and historically, we usually always see, running backs late second round-ish, tend to have those breakout, this guy finished as whatever, RB12, RB9, whatever, and then had that nuclear year, finish as RB3 or better. So I'm going on historical trends on that one. Chase Brown has that same opportunity because he's in a high-octane offense in Cincinnati. I think Bucky Irving was, just for me, just statistically, just a better runner overall. Again, both of these guys got significant bumps once they got their chance to crack the starting lineup. So for me, I'm just going to go with Bucky. He was overall just sensational. I think he's just a better runner in between the tackles. There's talk about Cincinnati kind of wanting to lean off the run in between the tackles for Chase Brown a little bit more. That's why his usage rate wasn't as high. But I'll say this, like with Bucky, I think the opportunities per game, or according to PFF, he had 14.6 for his overall rank, and that was RB 28 overall for opportunities per game. Still finished as RB 15 overall, like I said, and that was a top 10 running back the second half of the year. So I'm gonna go on that and say, like, hey, like this guy still has mega room for growth for the opportunities perspective. When I say opportunities, that means rushing, your carries and also your targets. So I do think that Bucky has more of that upside to overall get to that point where hey, I'm going to grab this guy late in the second, but overall he's like one of the last players in that range for where you're drafting for running backs, has an opportunity to really close, be that RB5 or better, RB3 or better. So I'll take that to the bank. Like I said, I like both of these players, so I'm not going to really shame anyone for taking Chase Brown over him. But I do like Bucky just a slight bit more. Do I have a preference on Dynasty because it's close? I'm going to say Bucky again for Dynasty, just because it's the same thing. It just goes to the where I know there's more room for growth. I know there's an opportunity for where he can have that overall year, like I said, where he's going to be going through the roof. Not to say Chase Brown can't. It's just more about I know Cincinnati still wants to air raid the ball, stuff like that. There are going to be times where they're behind in games too, but I just think that it goes by preference.
All right. So no, man, Bucky Irvin, I think Bucky Irvin was a guy I had last year, man. I obviously got him a little bit later on in drafts later on in the season. One thing, man, about Bucky is all 5 starters are coming back for Tampa Bay. So that's obviously a huge win. I think one element of his game that goes vastly underrated and people don't talk about a lot, stat that I put out a while ago on X, he had 52 targets last year in the passing game, and he had 47 receptions, which again, he wasn't the full-time starter.
Super efficient.
Yeah, he wasn't the full-time starter the entire year. So there's that. And then another thing that really kind of jumped out at me is as I was kind of digging through things, Tampa Bay, we know what they're going to do, man. We know this offense wants to throw the ball. Obviously, we know Liam Cohen is now gone. He's in Jacksonville. But one of the stats I looked at is how Bucky Irvin performed against a neutral box. And he was one of the top 5 running backs in the NFL versus a neutral box, just 7 guys there, right? And he only had 88 attempts, but he was a top 5 guy in that space. So I think we all know he's going to see a lot of work, against neutral boxes just because the way Tampa Bay wants to play. They want to spread you out. They want to throw the football, right? So I think there's that. And one more interesting stat, I found that, I was okay, I still like Bucky for sure. But last year, Bucky Irvin became the 45th running back to weigh less than 200 pounds since 1970 and have 200 carries in the season. 42% of backs that have done that have never reached 200 carries again in a season. So I thought that was a really interesting stat. And then also too, he's had some issues I've seen with his toe. Didn't cause him, this is going back to college, didn't cause him to miss any games or anything like that right there. But I think coming down the stretch, there was a couple of games where he did get banged up pretty good. He was able to finish out for fantasy managers towards the end of the year. So definitely seen a lot of toughness on his end. I love Bucky Irvin. I took him in the mock that you and I are both in. So again, kind of to your point, man, not here to shame anybody. No. But watching Chase Brown on film and seeing what Cincinnati, obviously, we all know what they're about. And one of the things that is kind of hitting me, and I guess I'm loving some heat. I'm loving bringing the heat, the hot topics here. But when I looked at Chase Brown and just continue to watch him against stack boxes and light boxes, just to see the variations and the differences, right? The more that I kind of started to get a vibe for a poor man's Devon Achane. And I say a poor man's Devon Achane because obviously he doesn't have the top end speed as Achane does, but he's obviously
receiving.
And he's got big play written all over him, right? Yeah. Didn't reach 1,000 yards, but he had 7 touchdowns and almost 1,000 yards, 990 yards over the 16-game season. He had 8 top 12 finishes over the entire year. And then the other thing is he was a top 5 running back in receptions with 54. So to your point, like he shows his usage in the passing game. And again, that's another offense, right? We're talking about two running backs that are in pass heavy offenses. But the couple of the separators for me with Chase Brown outside of all of those things is that there's still not other backs in that room to take away from what it is that he's doing. He showed last year he could hold up with Zach Moss being gone. I know Samaje Perine, they re-signed him again this year. But one of the other things that Chase Brown is going to see a lot of, right? And I wanted to look to see like how this is. Chase Brown was a top 10 running back in attempts versus a light box in the NFL last year and top 10 in yards as well. So like Chase Brown is going to continue to see light boxes because of the respect that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Mike Gesicki are going to command and demand. So you got to think again that Cincinnati's defense is going to still be bad. So Chase Brown is still going to be in the game as well. That was another thing I looked at. Even when Cincinnati is winning, like he's still getting the work, right? So there's all aspects of life, man, for me with Chase Brown. Plus, you can get Chase Brown around earlier. I'm starting to feel like I want to move Chase Brown up into that second round now. It's kind of the vibe. That's the vibe I'm getting right now for me. So I'm going to go Chase Brown. I'm going to go Chase Brown and push the envelope here as far as these two guys go.
I would not be shocked if, you could take, depending on how things go, I could see in home leagues where you won't be able to get neither of these guys at a 2-3 turn. I could easily see both of these guys start creeping more into that middle of the second round. And really be like, all right, like we'll just grab this guy as my, as my hero RB if people are gonna go that way after they get the receiver. Or just I could just see that in the next like several weeks where like, hey, people are starting to come around more on the data. It's like, oh my gosh, these guys are breakouts. These guys have more in the tank here. So I mean, yeah, like beautifully colored there, by the way, John.
Thanks. Oh wait, we got Frank in the chat. This is Cincy's defense being bad, a hit against Chase Brown. I don't think
If anything, that's a bump up.
Yeah, right.
That's a bump up.
Right.
More opportunity for shootouts, more opportunities to get receiving work. Like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I think I think like last year was just, another prime example, right? Like Cincinnati's defense was historically bad last year, and they're probably going to be historically bad again this year. Is they haven't figured out what to do with their first round pick, Shamar or whatever. From A&M. I'm pretty sure I think Trey Hendrickson is still somewhere in no man's land. So like they don't even have two pass rushers. It's to get after the quarterback. The guy that they were trying to cut a deal with hasn't signed, I believe, and then the guy that they drafted hasn't signed yet either. So they're in a typical Cincinnati chili mess, if you will. So I'll take that for sure, man. For sure.
No, yeah. So that's a good question because, I mean, we want opportunities where, you got offenses, being in more shootout environments and whatnot. So, no, yeah, great question, by the way, Mr. Frank in the chat. But, yeah, going on to our next, we got Sam Laporta versus TJ Hawkinson. Johnny, kick us off.
All right, man. So this one is really kind of wild, man, for sure, because you're talking now about one tight end who replaced the other tight end, which is very ironic, man. And I'll start off with Sam Laporta. Right now, he's being drafted in like the middle of the 6th round, give or take. Sam Laporta finished 2023 as the number 1 tight end overall. And like a lot of people got really excited about him. And I said I wasn't going to go down this path, but I'm just going to at least throw this out there just kind of casually. Brock Bowers, right? But another situation, another story for another time. But Sam Laporta still finished last year as a top 10 tight end. But like, again, like one of the more common themes that like we're seeing or that we seen last year with some of these players is that they were just overdrafted. Their production as far as like their position.
Laporta especially.
Right. He fits into this. We talked about Marvin Harrison last week, right? Marvin Harrison falls into a very similar category where he just was overdrafted. And obviously, like there was reason to draft Sam Laporta in that space because he finished the year as the number one tight end, but we also have to kind of take into consideration some of the things that happened that led him to being into that tight end one space. J-Mo in 2023 was in and out of the lineups with suspensions and, nagging injuries here and there, this and that. Amon-Ra, like obviously, if you watch the receivers doc, he played through a lot of pain and a lot of stuff. So like, I think that it was a perfect storm for him to be utilized in that space. But last year, Laporta was fifth amongst tight ends when he was lined up outside. He still had like a 15% target share, which was down a little bit from where he previously was. But last year, what happened was the Detroit Lions used him a lot in tight, and I still think they'll continue to do that. You've seen Johnny Morton talk about, in press conferences and whatnot about how a lot of things aren't going to change with this Detroit offense. So there's obviously, I think a lot of people think Jameson Williams is going to take a step forward. If you think he's going to take a step forward, in my opinion, that kind of, relegates Sam Laporta to the third option. So for me, it's 6'5". If Sam Laporta falls a little bit, like further than that right there, I'm cool with it. If not, I won't be jumping up to take him because everybody knows about Johnny Main and my man KOC, Kevin O'Connell. Every draft, man, I got to try to leave with some piece of this Minnesota Viking offense. And I think this Minnesota Viking offense is a little bit more intriguing to me than the previous ones because now we got JJ McCarthy. If he can stay healthy, hopefully he can, right? Like we've seen what's happened in the past with Sam Darnold, with Kirk Cousins, even like guys like Josh Dobbs, and there's another guy I'm forgetting. He was another backup. I can't remember his name. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I'll come back to it at some point. But he was a journeyman backup quarterback. So one of the things that was interesting to me about looking through this here with Laporta and TJ Hawkinson was TJ Hawkinson last year. I think he only played in 10 games last year. TJ Hawkinson was seventh amongst tight ends in the NFL when lined up out wide. And that was him only playing in 10 games. And Sam Laporta, I believe he was fifth. He was fifth in that space. So Hawkinson only playing 9 games, Laporta playing an entire season. And one of the other things, too, I think people aren't talking about or maybe have forgotten about, there's still this situation with Jordan Addison that's still looming and is still up in the air. Like, we don't know if there's going to be a suspension that's going to be looming on the other end of that. If there is a suspension that is looming on that, then obviously I think TJ Hawkinson and his versatility and what it is that he can do in the passing game, I think that'll get really highlighted. So that's something for me. And then the other part of that, too, is, we talk about it, for years and years and years and years just in football. What we know, we got one of the top 3 wide receivers in football out there with Jay Jett. So we know like the ball is going to go out there. But what is, a quarterback's best friend? The tight end. And TJ Hawkinson coming back at age 28, like I think you've heard guys like, Andrew Cooper talk about it before about how, a lot of tight ends don't break out until age 27. TJ Hawkinson is going into this season and he will be 28 years old. And I did a similar thing as well, man, just kind of looking at like TJ Hawkinson stats and Sam Laporta stats, just kind of comparing them in the first 2 years. And Sam Laporta has got him beat by a mile because of that monster year that he put together. Yeah, that monster year that he put together last year. But still, though, man, like still very respectable in all aspects, man. TJ Hawkinson almost had 100 catches in his first 2 years, 99 to be exact. Laporta had 146 and over 1,600 yards in the first 2 years. And so, like, I think the biggest thing, right, for Hawkinson is health. But if Hawkinson is the last guy, in my opinion, as far as like those upper echelon tight ends that you can get, that can give you tight end one production. I know Evan Ingram is there. Like, I haven't forgot about Evan Ingram. He's there. He's there in that space. But Sam Laporta, too. Hey, listen, Sam Laporta's going there. We all know Sam Laporta's going there. We know McBride. We know Brock Bowers, right? Like we know who the usual suspects are in that space. And then, maybe Mark Andrews, maybe Evan Ingram. That's up for grabs, man.
You don't like Njoku, huh? Jeez.
Njoku, the thing I don't mind Njoku because one of the underrated things that people don't know about the Cleveland Browns is the Cleveland Browns, and I've kind of actually been swearing this in the back of my head. last year, as bad as they were, which they will probably be just as bad or even worse this year, they actually led or were one of the league leaders in pass attempts as a team. And that's obviously because they are such a bad team. So like David Njoku will probably still get his opportunities, but I think it's more about who's going to be playing the quarterback position, because we know it's not going to be famous Jameis.
Yeah, I mean, look, when it comes to the debate between these guys, it's Hawkinson, and it's really because a couple of things that are working against Laporta. One, Detroit's offense is changing again. So we're not too sure in a way how new offensive coordinator John Moran's offense is going to be, but tailing to like his historical trends on using tight ends, it ain't good. It's funny when it comes to Laporta, when it comes to Hawkinson, he was in Mortensen. Mortensen. Yep, to ESPN. Yeah, I'm saying I forgot that's not ESPN anymore. Oh man, rest in peace, Mr. Mortensen. But that being said, only 4 receptions for Hawkinson on average before he got traded to Minnesota that year. And dating back to Moran's previous offenses, he was in Denver the last couple of years. He was even with my Jets in 2017. The last time he had a productive tight end, room go off was with the Jets in 2017, according to PFF. The Jets tight ends that year had 601 receiving yards, which ranked 6th fewest, and 4 touchdowns at the position were tied for the 6th fewest. So yeah, and then going back to the last 2 seasons with Denver, had their fewest receptions by tight ends for any team. So I'm not so giddy, especially where Laporta goes. Especially right now, I'm using best ball ADP. Laporta's 4th tight end off the board. So that's right after Bowers, McBride, and Kittle. So tight end 4, that's not until the early 6th round, something like that. But you get Hawkinson, a few rounds later at pick 85. So Hawkinson, for me, we've already seen it proven to be done. What he's done in the past, going back to his 2023 season where he played 15 games, so we're not counting last year's recovery season, he was 2nd in fantasy points per game. That's 14.6. And he averaged six receptions, 64 yards, and was 121 targets overall, which ranked 2nd among tight ends that year. So if I want someone like you said, tight end's best friend, I think JJ McCarthy coming into this thing, I think Hawkinson's going to find himself getting some good opportunities and potentially easy, over the middle type of easy, catch and go type of things. And like you said, the looming question about Addison is something to be considered. But again, we won't, the NFL always a wait and see thing now these days versus so reactive. But even if Addison's there, that only helps the offense. So my thing is if we're always about, KOC, go ahead.
Always KOC.
There we go.
My God, man.
If we're on this Minnesota offense and they do kind of want to be a little bit more balanced, but I don't necessarily believe that, because in order for them to win and be what they did last year, they're going to have to be throwing the football constantly. The offensive line has to be better, and not get that, get pressured so much offensively. So I do think that Hawkinson is the better value, and I do think matchup, player for player, he wins this matchup in my opinion. Because we've seen, what Laporta do it before. I just have a real funny feeling that it's going to be Amon-Ra, Jameson, even Gibbs getting in the when it comes to receiving work over Laporta.
They also drafted a guy, I think, in the 3rd round. They tried Kyle, I can't remember his name. They drafted a rookie to come in there and play some too. In the 3rd round, man. Golly, dude, if you wouldn't even went on that path, man, I probably would have been able to rip it off. But oh my God, what the heck is his name?
Isaac Tasella.
Yes. Yeah. So
he's a receiver, but
right. But it's another mouth to feed in there, right? Yes, there you go. Yeah.
I haven't seen much. I haven't dive into that deep yet. But I've seen some of him a little bit, but. Yeah, I'm not going to say take away from Laporta, but I do see a scenario like it kind of was last year, where it was he wasn't first or even second when it came to, making enough plays for him and dialing up enough things for him, unless maybe in the red zone, maybe where you could probably get it. But I just don't see it. Laporta's just that's it. He's still going to that place where I'm like, man, we're not getting a discount still. We're all about discounts. Man.
It takes about 2 years, man, with them tight ends, man, for them to fall off, man. People are just now coming off of Kyle Pitts, self-included.
People now just finally getting off Travis Kelce. So,
yeah, I told you, man. I told you last week, baby. I'm here for it.
Of course you are.
Yeah, baby.
Of course you are.
I'm here for it.
All right, we got the quarterbacks now.
Yeah, man. So we got Jordan Love and we got Dak Prescott. We got two guys going right around the 10th round right now. So you got your team pretty much built out, right? You didn't take one of those big-time quarterbacks in the first 4 to 6 rounds. So you get to round 10, which is actually right around the ADP for both of these guys, consensus, best ball, early redraft so far. So you're coming into the 10th round. You're staring down the barrel. You got Jordan Big Heart Love and Dakota Rain Prescott. Who you taking and why, man?
I'm just gonna stand on business. I talked about this guy several months ago, Dak Prescott. I think you can still get him cheaper. In a spot in drafts where people are just overlooking Dak Prescott. And I do like Jordan Love. He is a quarterback that I get in some rooms, sometimes I don't. Dak, I know I can just get more later. I know from a historical trends, Dallas always offensively for fantasy purposes always tends to be top 8 when Dak Prescott's been healthy. You got CeeDee Lamb. Now you got your boy, George Pickens.
Let's go.
Can't believe you're still cheering for him.
I'm a fantasy manager, baby.
But no, people just forget in fantasy circles what Dak Prescott has done historically in the past and how that can transition over. Going back to the 2023 season that he had, so not talking about the season and the hamstring injury he had last year.
Course, no.
So 4th in passing attempts, 590 on that year. 516 passing yards. And he was first in passing touchdowns that year, along with fantasy points per game was 20.7. That was 4th among all QBs. Yes, I know the quarterback, from rushing perspectives or whatever, ain't going to really be there because Dak really ain't no scrambler like that like he used to. However, I think the offense that he is going to be producing for really has a distinct, clear pathway to if you want to, if you're thinking about best ball, you're talking about stacking, or you're thinking about, it's like, hey, God, I know where the ball should potentially be really going to. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, potentially, Jake Ferguson. It's pretty much going to be the, what's going to be. I don't know who the third receiver for the Cowboys is. Don't really care. But I do think in terms of how Dak Prescott has been historically, I'm just going to think on that. I do like Jordan Love. I don't think it's going to go like how it was last year where the Packers, first 5 weeks of the season, they were starting to throw the football more, but then from there on out, it was the running game. It was Josh Jacobs' show. Similar to how we talked about that later this past season, where we saw both the Packers and Eagles trending really towards run heavy constantly. And we're like, when's this ever going to get corrected? It really didn't. Even to their playoff matchup where it was they ran the ball constantly and they were down 17. I'm like, why are they still running the ball and they're down 17?
Right.
It just goes to, I think when it comes to both of these guys, Love and Prescott, I do think that both of them are, because quarterback is so deep, it's going to really depend on your varying of room. So depending on when you want to take a quarterback, because honestly, there's a lot to choose from. It's like a candy store for quarterbacks right now. It's
it is.
You want to run a quarterback? All right, go grab your Lamar or Josh Allen early. Go fight with everybody for draft position on one of those guys. Or just wait a little bit longer. Hey, go grab a Justin Fields. You know what I'm saying? Right. Even wait later. Go grab a Justin Herbert. Go grab a Dak Prescott. Go grab a Jordan Love. Go grab even later, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young. There's so even if you're feeling fancy, Cam Ward. Like there's so many like quarterbacks to choose from, no matter really the range. So yeah, I mean that's the quarterback thing in general. But I think Dak Prescott, because I do see, not to say Jordan Love hasn't done it. It's just more about with the Packers side of things. It's okay. You spent the first round draft capital since 2003, 2004, first round receiver and Matthew Golden. He's got to be something then, right? He has to be.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to watch. No Christian Watson. So what are you going to do with Jaden Reed? You got to keep on playing him in a slot? I don't think it's a good idea, but hey, we'll see what happens. Tucker Kraft's there. So there's not to say that we won't have a clear distinction of where the footballs will go to, but I know in Dallas, we know where it's going to go. And that's going to help anyone that's either for best ball purposes, for season-long purposes, whatever, one-offs, whatever. It's just going to help that scenario for you.
Okay. All right. So man, with Dak, couple things like doing some research and kind of watching some things, man, watching some throws of his, right? Because I think one of the things that happened, Dak is 32 years old right now.
Yep.
And I think, one of the things that happens is we get into name brand, and just kind of peeling back like a lot of these
Dak's name brand?
Hey man, America's team.
Stop it. Just stop it. Stop it. No.
Listen, Chunky Campbell soup, man. He's this generation's
you're on your high horse tonight.
I'm not on my high horse, man. Listen, Dak Prescott is a household name, man.
Household name compared to Jordan Love.
He is. If I'm wrong, chat, tell me I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, man.
I don't know about that.
I'll stand on it, man.
I think people diss Dak Prescott all the time because he plays for Dallas.
So I don't diss him. I actually like Dak Prescott. Like I like the person that he is. I think obviously for the longest time, I think he didn't show up in the playoffs, but again, man, there's only one quarterback on each team, and there's a lot of teams that would definitely love to have Dak Prescott as their quarterback. And I think there was a point in time where we all looked at Dak and was like, okay, he can get there. But he's 32 now, man. He's came off that gross ankle injury. Obviously, he had the hamstring or whatever, the quad last year, and some things that really kind of caught me by surprise last year was just how bad the offensive line was. According to PFF, they were the 23rd ranked pass blocking unit in the entire league.
Especially after you left.
But I mean, hey, it's all Zach Martin's gone, right? So that's just another element, right?
Definitely.
And this is another stat too that I was like, okay, well, this is kind of interesting. Dak Prescott has missed 5+ games in 3 of the last 5 seasons. So that's another element of things for me. Like when you talk about Dak and his ability and his availability, right? Like you talk about that. So then, I keep looking a little bit more. Found that, hey, last year versus man defense, his completion percentage went from 66% in 2023 to 46.5% last year. So last year against man coverage, he was not very good. And then you start to think about, well, what about this run game? We don't even know who's going to be playing running back. Is it Miles Sanders? Is it Javonte Williams? Is it Jaden Blue? Who is it that's going to be playing running back for the Cowboys? Because this is absolutely, you're not wrong. This is all Dak Prescott's team. Well, so get to looking a little bit more. We get to looking 8 games he played. He had 55 play action attempts. And when he did that, he had a QB rating of 103.8. So that lets me know that Dak Prescott absolutely needs a running game behind him right now at this stage of his career. And now we don't know who's going to be playing running back for him. At least last year they had Uncle Rico back there. And obviously Uncle Rico didn't really come on until a little bit later on in the season. And then Dak Prescott, this was another alarming stat for me, was last year when he was throwing to receivers outside, his QB rating was 79.4 with a completion percentage of 59.2. So I know they're getting George Pickens, and I know CeeDee Lamb is obviously there. We obviously talked about Jake Ferguson. I think Dak Prescott is accurately priced in the 10th round. And I think like there is a space where he could be a junk time machine, which is what we all love in fantasy, is the guy that at the end of the game, like they're trying to come back. It's garbage time. Like I think I think there's definitely a space for that for Dak this year. And there's also a space too where like he could turn it on and he could be right back in the same space he is with, over 4,000 yards passing, 30 plus touchdowns, minimal interceptions. There's definitely a pathway for both of those spots. And I think like Dak at 10-1, like that's absolutely like a great value for sure. And I'm not saying that I will never take Dak Prescott, because I will take him if he is the best value on the board for sure. There's other guys that like I'm more intrigued by. Caleb Williams, as I continue to talk about, is a guy that I am very intrigued by this year.
And that's my appeal on Dak, because look, like I have him in a tier that you got Goff, Purdy, Herbert, May, Jordan Love. That's my tier. And yes, that tier, that's a spreadsheet thing for me. But I know Dak Prescott goes. His ADP right now is, according to, best ball, stuff like that, it's like 108. I've seen him go 125. It's a varying ADP.
Right. It like, again, like I said, like I'm not trying to be that guy. And yeah, you got it. And Frank in the chat. So like, yeah, like you're right. Like people, align NFL success with fantasy value. They're not the same. Dak is a great quarterback. Like, fair enough. But last year, I'm just going to throw this out there for you. In the 6 games that he finished last year, quarterback 20. Wait. Quarterback 21, quarterback 15, quarterback 2, quarterback 11, quarterback 13, and quarterback 20.
Again, small sample size. That's just like taking a small sample size of what Jordan Love did.
Listen, you know what? You can say that's a small sample size and that happened just the same way as you could say the big play that happened didn't really happen because it was a big play. It happened. Okay, so again, I won't keep piling on Dak because, like, again, like I could continue to go on. I would take Dak Prescott saying all that. Jordan Love last year obviously got injured at the beginning of the year. So kind of a different story for me when I look at Jordan Love. Weeks 11 through 15, Jordan Love.
Contradict yourself?
No, I'm not. I'm in my bag, baby. I'm in my bag. Let me cook. Jordan Love last year. Mindful what you're saying. Jordan Love last year, bro. Weeks 11 through 15, QB rating over 107. Weeks through 11 through 18, no turnovers. 6 quarterback 1 finishes. Still was 11th in passing touchdowns last year. And the one thing that was really interesting for me about Jordan Love versus Dak Prescott, Jordan Love had a higher completion percentage on balls that were 20 yards or deeper versus him in the intermediate game, right? So Jordan Love in the big play was there. You're talking about Matt Golden a little bit earlier. Like, I'm not saying like, let's go jump on the Matt Golden train. Like I already did that last year with Christian Watson. But what I am saying is that what you just talked about and what we've been talking about is how the Green Bay Packers and that offense last year ran the ball. They ran the ball. Right?
Yeah, regression's coming.
Well, not even regression, just a little bit of balance.
I'm saying positive regression.
Yeah, just a little bit of balance, man. According to ESPN, they're the 7th best pass blocking unit in football last year. So again, a pretty good group. We know LaFleur wanted to throw the football last year and ended up not being that. The Packers have 4 of their 5 offensive linemen coming back. So again, like I think it's one of those situations where we're looking at both of these guys and we're saying, okay, yeah, Dak Prescott, like just because like all the things that like we talked about, like George Pickens is there and CeeDee Lamb and like what he's done in the past, right? But Jordan Love also has the same opportunity to do those things. And Jordan Love has a run game. He's going to be able to get some of the things that Dak Prescott is not going to be able to get in terms of coverage and one-on-ones and opportunities for plays downfield. They're going to be there for the Cowboys. Like I ain't no psychopath, but just what is there for everybody, the play caller, the offensive line, the run game. Like I think a lot of things are lining up really nicely for Jordan Love. And for right now, July 7th, I would probably take Jordan Love over Dak. I'll not even say probably. I would take Jordan Love right now over Dak
That's
Prescott.
fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So yeah.
I think
so
I would
mean,
too right now when it comes to ADP.
Yeah.
But I do think that when it comes to I'm looking at best ball and I'm like, all right, I'll definitely take Dak in the sense as my QB2 later, even as a season long starter where all the again I have my pickings after certain guys go off the board. It's like okay. But at the same time, like I hear what you're saying too. I think both of these guys they go around the same range.
Yeah,
so it's definitely I hear like Jordan Love. I hear you. You know what I'm saying when it comes to that. I just think that Dak Prescott just a little bit too disrespected sometimes, and I don't think like the shorter sample size is very fair. And like you said, it happened, but I understand that. For fantasy purposes, like Frank was saying, I think that certain times NFL success, fantasy value, and fantasy success don't always equal each other.
Like I said, man, hey, I gave you the quarterback. I gave you where he finished last year in those games. Take it or leave it, man. I'm just here to spit facts, baby. That's all I'm here for. So moving on, man. We got coming up, we've got battle of two rookies here. We got Travis Hunter and Tet McMillan here. We got two rookie wide receivers. Probably going around like what space are we going around here? Let me see what I think I had it here. Probably mid-round, obviously, I would say. Actually, not even get these guys written down here. So T-Mac and Travis Hunter. Let's see here. We got an ADP for both of these guys. We got Tet going at 5'6", and then we have Tet at 5'6", and we have Travis Hunter at 5'12". So both guys right now, from a consensus side of things, both are going in the 5th round. So you've got your Bijan, you've got your receiver that you talked about. You probably have another receiver. So you're getting ready to either smash for Travis Hunter or Tet McMillan. Who are you looking at and who are you taking with these two rookies here, and why?
Man, for me, it's just maybe I'm just missing it. Maybe I'm delusional, or maybe I'm just deranged or something. But the McMillan thing going this high, some stuff I've seen, I just don't know. I like the Panther situation. I like all the other pieces outside of McMillan. I don't know. I like what I see on tape. But again, like, are we all just setting ourselves up for heartbreak? Are we all we got to come back a year later and say, hey, we overdrafted McMillan easily. Overdrafted. Like we've talked about with tight ends before. Like we talked about certain guys that go into this like range of like middle of 3rd round and the 4th round where we're like, these guys got pushed up here. How and why? So that's one of the mysteries for me still when I'm still trying to figure out where to put McMillan. Ideally, I don't want him like where he's going at all. I would love to have him later. I'd love to have him, like, Travis Hunter goes pretty appropriately. There's some rooms I see him go into the early 60s. And I think that's where McMillan should be. I just don't understand the difference between where McMillan goes and Hunter goes in some drafts. So give me Travis Hunter. I know there was this controversy of if he's going to play corner, if he's going to play receiver. I think that's still going on. I think it sounds like to me he's still going to be, the wide receiver 2 starting, outside of Brian Thomas. So in a 3 wide receiver set, it's Brian Thomas, it's Travis Hunter, and it's Denami Brown for the moment. So for the Jags. So I just like Travis Hunter where he's going. So give me the slight value on him. I think from a perspective at receiver, like we all knew Travis Hunter was the best prospect. And I do think that Hunter can still be that for us fantasy managers. If I were to ask you a question on where do you think McMillan ends statistically this season, if you give a slight guess, what would you say?
Whoo.
But that's already like
Well,
like already starting to get there for me.
But I think like there's another piece for me, like I think like that's one of like when we're putting this together here, like just trying to put together like two guys that are like in similar spaces. So you got Bryce Young, you got Trevor Lawrence, you got two number one overall picks, obviously, right? Like you know what I mean? Like so we got that. So all right, so boom, like let's do that. All right. Trevor Lawrence has at least shown flashes that like it can be a thing. Right. And last year, Bryce Young coming down the stretch was one of the better quarterbacks to end the year. Like adjusted completion percentage in the second half of the year, I'm pretty sure he was one of the QB ones in just that natural statistic. Obviously, Mac Jones was on the field last year, kind of towards the end of the end of the fantasy year and just the end of the season. So with Ted McMillan, it's one of those things where if, in my opinion, if Bryce Young takes the next step and continues to take the next step, well, yeah, like I think that's a really good thing because last year, Xavier Legette last year ran the most routes for the Carolina Panthers. And I like Xavier Legette. Like I was hoping the Steelers would have took him. He was fun to watch in South Carolina, other than like, you know, his interviews and stuff like that. I know a lot of people love him, you know, just for that, man. You know, I love me a good guy from down south, man.
Yep.
But like
raving about him right now.
Yeah, but I like him. Like I like him as a football player, and I still think there's something there.
Same.
But then it gets really interesting when you start to look at like just the routes ran for the Carolina Panthers. Do you know who ran the second most route for the Panthers? Just take a guess.
The second receiver that ran the most routes?
We'll just call it that. Yeah, the second.
Elon.
No, this not even a receiver, but he is, but Chuba Hubbard, 312. Yeah. And then it was David Moore at 308 routes that were ran last year. So obviously, like the opportunities are gonna be there for Ted McMillan no matter what. Like if Xavier Legette, like if you feel like, hey, like we kind of use him as like a gadget guy. Obviously, Adam Thielen is there. He missed a couple of games. He only played in 10 games, but had 274 routes that he ran last year. So obviously, if he would have been there for the full season, he probably would have been the leader in that space. But that's another thing with Ted McMillan. You got a guy like Adam Thielen to kind of show you the ropes, man, right? Like, and to show you how to be a pro and to show you how to be a receiver. So I think that's another element, which is kind of sidebar. But that's one of the things, like, I look at is I'm like, well, shoot, like, you know, there isn't anybody who's demonstratively taking over this wide receiver room. So I think it's one of those situations where it's opportunity, which is what fantasy managers look for, is opportunity and situation. And that's there for Ted McMillan. When you look at the Carolina Panthers. So I can see why that he's being drafted the way that he's being drafted. Do I agree with it? I would take him more as my wide receiver 3. So like if I have a hero running back approach and I get there in the 5th round and he's there and I've already, you know, got me a Nico Collins and, you know, an AJ Brown or something like that right there. And then I can get Ted McMillan and kind of take that as upside. Absolutely all day long. Like I wouldn't trust him as a wide receiver too. And that's the same way I feel
that's
about
where he's going.
And that's the way like I feel about Travis Hunter. So to answer your question, I guess in short, like where do I see Ted McMillan finishing the year?
Yeah.
Probably somewhere around wide receiver in a perfect world, wide receiver, somewhere between wide receiver 28 to wide receiver 32 is probably where I would see him at. That's in a perfect world, man. And again, that's if everything goes right. But we don't know, right? Like that's the biggest thing, like with him. Yeah, like we don't know. And I think there's more questions than there's answers. And it's the same thing with Travis Hunter. Because like when I look at Travis Hunter and I look at the Jacksonville Jaguars situation, very similar process, right? Like we know who the number one route. Go ahead.
So let's play a quick game.
Sure.
Sure. Ted McMillan, right? Going, like I said, the middle of that 4th round right now is going. So your guy Corbin Sutter finished higher, right? Projection wise.
Yeah.
Okay. Devontae Smith.
Taking him.
Zay Flowers.
Probably taking him and taking a big shot of vodka behind it. But yes, taking him.
Your guy George Pickens.
Probably taking him as well.
Your guy Calvin Ridley.
You already know.
Jalen Waddle.
I am not a huge Jalen Waddle fan. I haven't.
It's okay.
I haven't been a huge
Waddle finishes higher statistically than McMillan.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of what ifs in that situation, right? Like,
oh.
All right. And like
last one, Chris Godwin.
Honestly, man, again, if he is my wide receiver 3, the only players that I'm definitively taking over him at wide receiver 3 are Zay Flowers, Cortland Sutton, Calvin Ridley, Devontae Smith, 100%.
Yeah, so that's where my problem with McMillan is, because he goes in a range right now currently, and that could probably change for season-long purposes and stuff. I'm sure we'll probably get McMillan probably as our wide receiver 3 and stuff like that for certain rooms or whatever. We're just talking about best ball ADP at the moment. It's like he's going in a range where it's like, yo, I'd rather take like 8 or 10 more guys in that range before I even consider taking him. Yeah, so that's where I think the market right now, it's like we're really expecting McMillan to drop 1,100 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns or whatever his rookie year. Really, I'm just saying that's where he's going. That's where he's going, and people are predicting us for ADP, and I'm like, that's a tough thing. So that's where we've been burned by these bigger, taller receivers before, and that's where like my whole concern is for it. So that's why like McMillan, he always goes before I get a chance to draft him. So
and he's probably going like I think maybe I might have one share of him. I think I've done like 20 best ball drafts, and I have one share of him. And even in my dynasty league, I picked at the 106, I believe. And Travis Hunter was there, and I took Travis Hunter, and Ted McMillan was still there. So I ended up with Travis Hunter and Matthew Golden with that team. And like I would take Travis Hunter to answer the question here for perspective, because obviously, like you said, like him as a prospect says enough in itself. And then you get him into a situation we're just going to talk about with Liam Cohen, right? And then you talk about who else is there as far as pass catchers. Parker Washington was nice last year in space. Yeah, he was cute. Right. He was cute. You said you nailed it. You nailed it. And he was cute. And cute for us is
don't pay the bills.
Exactly. Cute, 390 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's what cute was. So yeah, like I think like
he was the guy that paid off his draft price when he's going receiver 88.
Bro, so you factor in Parker Washington's 363 routes that he ran last year, and Gabe Davis, who's no longer with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Christian Kirk as well, who's no longer with them. Just between the two of them, Travis Hunter fills that space very easily to be able to run, 450 plus routes next year, to be able to possibly get him into a 65, 70 plus catch space. So I think Travis Hunter is the guy that actually has the best avenue to be able to repay his draft capital, if you will, just because of who he is and what else is going on around him. And like I said, like for me, I look at that and I think about like how gimmicky, I don't want to say gimmicky, but like, they're going to utilize him in a lot of different ways. So for me, man, like if I had to make a pick between the two of these guys, I picked Travis Hunter. I still think like even for Travis Hunter, I still think that's a little bit rich for where he's going for both guys.
It's somewhat fair at the moment. You know what I'm saying? Because people are going to say, rich. He's going to play both positions and stuff like that. If we knew Travis Hunter was going to be specifically playing receiver, where McMillan's going, I would have a little bit more of like, all right, I would weigh more of my options there.
It's not even about that for me. Like I could care less like about the defensive thing for sure. I just think it's more about the fact that like for him being a wide receiver and learning how to play wide receiver in the NFL, like maybe he gets out there and he is that guy like right out of the gate. Like that is absolutely in the range of outcomes for Travis Hunter for sure. But I still think like as an athlete, like yes, absolutely, because teams have to respect Brian Thomas Jr. and Liam Cohen and what he could. That's a kid I know, man. I coached like when I was playing football. Liam Cohen, man, I think he's gonna find a way to be able to put Travis Hunter in the best situation schematically. So yeah, man, like I would take Travis Hunter for sure before Ted McMillan. I don't, again, like Ted McMillan is a guy that like it could be a space. Like if we were in an auction draft, I think that would be like a space that like I would feel comfortable, bidding on him, right? Because like I think like his value in an auction room, his value in an auction room is going to be a lot less than what it's going to be on a snake draft. And like, and I had an interesting take, when I was on with Frick and Bob Long last couple weekends ago, and I was like, okay, like that kind of makes sense. But he was talking about how a lot of times Bob Long was, when you get into these drafts, like people that haven't done their preparation, they just get lazy and they go for a rookie. And I was like, I dig that. I was like, because that's really what it is. So kind of to the point we're talking about, that's probably one of the reasons why Ted McMillan is so high, is because it's like, oh, well, the first true wide receiver drafted. All right, so obviously there's got to be something there for the people that like haven't done their research, which is why hopefully those people that aren't doing their research are watching us right now, so we can help them out and do that. But yeah, man, I think that's a long-winded way of me saying Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement on that one. Even Travis Hunter, because I do think that there's, like we said, a lot of things that are going into this, right? Jacksonville offense becoming potentially more potent with Liam Cohen at the helm. With Trevor Lawrence, like bounce back year, it's like, hey, you got weapons now, man. Like, you gonna perform or what? And I think Travis Hunter still goes in a spot. Like I said, I'm feeling comfortable about taking him. I got Travis Hunter. I don't have any McMillan right now, because he just goes too high in drafts for me in best ball. So Travis Hunter, I got in a few spots where I have him as a wide receiver 3 and feeling really good about that. But like I said, season long, that'll be an interesting question for season long, because I know those guys will go later than where they're going for best ball currently, because all you got to do is be 11 other people in your league. So the variance behind that is going to be, like, all right, like all I got to do is be 11 other people. It's like, all right, most likely receivers aren't going to be as drafted high because everybody likes to go get running backs. So that's what's going to push, season long ADPs down league by league. So that's where you can get these guys probably like late 5th, early 6th round sometimes.
I know you're looking at best ball. I'm looking at like just a consensus, like for both. I'm looking at like, just a combination of best ball. And
what I talked about was season long.
And granted, like a lot of people haven't done season long drafts yet, right? So like obviously we're going to see this kind of vary, but like I think to your point, like depending on what your league settings are and what how many players you start, this, that, and the third, I think. Yeah, you'll see that. But then the other part of it too, man, is training camp buzz, man. Like training camp buzz and coach speak. Like all it's going to take is, for Liam Cohen to come out here and say, hey, Travis Hunter is going to play, 75% of offensive snaps, and here we go. And the same thing with like Ted McMillan. It's the same thing to say, hey, like he's been out here dominating in camp, and and like Ted McMillan, like there he goes to the moon. Like we see it happen every single year, man.
Yeah, we do.
Just the reality of this.
It's always going to happen. It's always going to happen.
Just the nature of the beast, brother. Just the nature of the beast. So,
it's real.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, no.
Any final thoughts, John?
Final thoughts, man. Last night, definitely dope. Being able to be on the podathon, man. Like,
yeah, I know, right?
like already, like one of the highlights already. Just, my C+ life out here podcasting. That was definitely a good time, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, that was definitely dope. If you haven't donated to fantasycares.org, man, go ahead and go do that for sure. I think they're still actually looking for like 2 or 3 people, man, to like fill in the Scott Fishbowl drafts. Like one of the guys, man, Ben, the guy that always pops. Yeah.
Update for you, by the way.
What's that?
Coop is in my draft.
Oh, sick with it. Looking
forward to it.
Oh, have fun. Have fun. I'm hanging out with Doug again, man. So it should be a blast.
Yo, don't worry about it. I got you.
Should be a blast.
I'll be right there, quarterbacking you. Yo, you need to do
this. You need to quarterbacking me. Give it. Out of here. You quarterbacking me. Get out of here, man. Get out of here.
Hey, the last time you and Doug went at it, it wasn't pretty like you told me.
Get out of here, man.
I'm just saying,
Get out of here. Yeah, man. Listen, you know what? Hey, man, I'm beautifully flawed, man. You know what I mean? I'm beautifully flawed out here, you know?
Flawed now.
I'm beautifully flawed out here. But no, man, Ben, he was just telling me, man, he just messaged me a while ago, and he was like, I guess at the 112 and 2-1 turn for him, dude, he ended up with Jefferson and Lamb. And I was like, okay, I could live with that. I could live with that at the turn, man. Like, could be a lot worse. Could be a lot worse.
That's crazy.
Could be a lot worse.
I guess. So I guess if people are watching, whatever. I mean, look, like we've done these mock drafts and stuff too. It's definitely, like I said, it's definitely room by room. I already know because our leagues are definitely going to be prepared. That ain't gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen.
No, man.
So that's like sounds like a pipe dream. Oh my God, I got Jefferson.
Yeah. And you know the other thing you said Coop was actually in your league. I don't know if he's actually in it because I think he's the guy. Like I know he's the guy that's actually running the draft for the Boston area. So he's in every draft as an admin just in case something goes sideways. Because I thought the same thing, but that's not the case. Though. And
you're right.
I think he actually.
I was like, why is he?
Yeah, no, he's just
Like,
there.
oh, he's in.
No, just in case something goes sideways. So, but no, that's really it, man. Just a Scott Fishbowl piece, just overall, man. We got 2 more weeks until we draft, so can't wait for that. And obviously, man, we'll be back again next week with some different type of content for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. But other than that, bro, like I don't got anything else, man. Other than obviously, the norms, man. Give us the follow on YouTube, the like and subscribe. We don't got our names up here. We got to get our names up here. There we go. Yeah, we just been going hard in the paint out here. But yeah, like definitely give us a follow for sure. In all spaces, Twitter, YouTube, Blue Sky. Actually, man, TikTok. I'm on there. I don't know if you're on there or not, but just started to be on TikTok. Give us a follow, man, for sure. And if there's anything you guys want us to talk about or anything you want us to hit, please let us know, man. Appreciate the engagement tonight in the chat, man. Appreciate Frank in the chat for being in the chat with us most of the night. I'm sorry if I rubbed you the wrong way about Dak. But definitely thanks for showing up, man, and showing support, to Nick and I. And that's all I got, man. So with that note, man, I'll let Nick bring it home for us, man.
Yo, we'll see y'all next week. Next episode, 8 p.m. Eastern. We out. Peace.